What better way to end 2025 than with one of my biggest hauls of the year? Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. Whether you're watching this on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, or sometime after, this is going to be my final comic haul of 2025. And so before we dive into these books, I want to pause and say Happy New Year to all of you. I hope your 2025 was great and that you're ringing in the new year in some kind of fun way, whether that's with a big bash or with a nice quiet time at home. Whatever you like, I hope that's what you're getting to do, and wish you all a happy new year and the best of all things come 2026, not the least of which is comic book hunting. Now, for the haul that I'm going to show you today, I'm kind of glad I waited this long to show you. It's been a couple months since I bought these books, and honestly, I procrastinated showing you them for a while because I wasn't sure how to tackle it. Not only is this my last haul of the year, it's also one of my largest, and I really wasn't sure how to divide up these books. So in the end, I thought, hey, why don't I do one long video to kind of blow out 2025, show you all of these books in one long video, and then you can stick this on in the background, maybe while you're doing something else, maybe you're cooking, maybe you're bagging and boarding in your comic book room, somehow multitasking, and then you can kind of tune in a little bit more closely when you hear something that's of interest to you, and kind of tune out a little bit more when the books are less interesting to you. But then I'll be able to show you all the books. You can do some multitasking and maybe kill some time on New Year's Eve if that's what you're looking to do. I will tell you that all of the books that you're going to see today come from one of my favorite shows of the entire year here in the Twin Cities. We have kind of a sister shows that happen each year, one in the spring, one in the fall, and they're both aptly named SpringCon and FallCon. They're both hosted at different buildings within our state fairgrounds, and they're just a great time because they bring local dealers as well as people who come from a distance. You've got creators who are there, like Dan Jurgens sitting there at a table. You can just walk right up to him and talk to him about comics and the things that he's worked on. It's great. And then you've also got different artists and things who are there, and people who are more local and who are selling their different original art pieces and different things like that. So very, very good time. Families come out. It kind of pulls out of the community all different aspects of people who kind of touch the comic book and related hobbies. So great shows. Love to go to them every year. This particular FallCon, it's a 2-day show now, and I was only going to be able to go one of the days, the first day. And so I wanted to make sure that I made the most of my time, and I couldn't even go for the full day. Well, I knew the vendors ahead of time, and I knew some of the deals that were going to be offered. And so I focused in on one particular vendor because of the amazing deals that he was having at his table or tables for FallCon. The dealer's name is Brad, and the business is Go Big or Go Home Comics. I've talked about him numerous times here on my channel. I'll put a link to his online presence down below in case you want to check him out. But Brad always brings great deals, and he was really trying to blow it out of the water at FallCon because he had a bunch of things. First of all, he had all different kinds of priced books, wall books, dollar books, and more expensive books. But the main attraction was this huge island that he created in the center. I don't even know. I think he had the equivalent of like 5 booths wide at the show. So he really went big. So he would have to go home with no comic books. But that center island was dozens of long boxes of comic books priced individually at 50 cents a piece. That's amazing enough as it is. But the real deal was the bulk deal. You could fill a long box for $50. And I don't need to tell you, you can squeeze a lot of books in there when you're getting that kind of a bulk deal. And I think it wound up being, for me, less than 20 cents a comic. Great opportunity to try to fill in some runs with a lot of issues, or maybe hopefully complete some runs or limited series and things like that. I was not on the hunt for keys at this. This is a bulk blowout, kind of fill in the gaps as much as you can for as cheaply as you can kind of an event. And I was very successful. I filled a long box, and that's what you're going to see today. I don't actually have them in the long box. What I actually have kind of scattered around me are piles of comics. I got about 5 piles about this size to show you, and that's why it's going to take so long to get through all these. But Go Big or Go Home Comics, great sales all the time. This was amazing, and I've got a ton of books here that I'm really looking forward to showing you. Now, one other thing I will say before we dive into this haul, because it's kind of like the 800-pound gorilla in the room, you might notice a pretty significant change to my backdrop here, namely this spinner rack. This was a Christmas present from my wife. It is not vintage, it's modern, but that means you're not going to spend like $1,000 on it. It was still pretty expensive, but this was sold as a current or modern retail rack that people can have for displaying magazines, or in my case, comic books. And it is perfect. It does exactly what I want it to do. This will give me an opportunity to pull some books out of their short box dark prisons that they live in all year long and put them on display so I can see the covers and appreciate them more so than when they're just sitting in boxes. And my first round of books actually is, these are not all Christmas books, but what you see are a lot of the Christmas covers that I have kind of fronted on these. All the books behind them are not Christmas, but I didn't want to leave just one book in the front. It looked really empty that way. So I put a stack of books. This will actually allow me to hold more than a short box worth of comics just on this rack. And it's 16 pockets all the way around. And I don't think you can see it, but on top, there is a little rack so I can put a sign in the top. So I fully intend to make up a little sign that looks vintage, like the Hey Kids comics or something. Maybe I'll have Marvel comics on one side and DC on the other. But I'm going to look online, find some different images of some more vintage spinner rack toppers, print those out in color, and then I'll be able to have a nice topper to my spinner rack. But yeah, I figured I'd point that out just because for those of you who are regular viewers, you obviously noticed that. So that's a super fun addition. I love having it in my comic book room and highly recommend if you're in a position to have one or have a space to put one. Super fun to have it. I get joy every time I walk into the room now and see this sitting here. So thank you again to my wonderful wife, Nicole, and for this amazing gift. And yeah, I'm going to have fun all year long. And as you watch my videos, you can see this rotate throughout the year to see different kinds of covers. Not sure how I'm going to do it yet. I might just do it alphabetically and then work my way through my entire collection. So I don't know. That's a problem for another day. Right now, it's just a fun addition that I can enjoy here in my comic book room. The other thing I'll tell you, just kind of as a timestamp for myself, if nothing else, I just got another file cabinet for my comic book room. And this was a significant purchase because it represented the final shift of moving my comic books from short boxes on Metro racks into file cabinets. So I now have cabinets kind of in different spots around my comic book room here, and they can hold my entire comic collection as it is today. And I've got room to expand. So I've got some breathing room for a while. If I ever fill this up and need to get more, well, we'll talk about that at a future time. But for now, I've got plenty of space, got some breathing room to grow, and I'm really, really happy to have acquired my last filing cabinet. And I'll put a link down below to a Facebook group to any of you who are interested in learning more about using file cabinets for your comic book storage. There's a great group on Facebook called Comic File Cabinets, a public group anybody can join, but it's a great community of collectors who are focused on putting their books in primarily lateral file cabinets, but not exclusively. There's some that are your traditional, really like long drawers that come out, your regular file cabinets. I like the lateral ones. I go with 42-inch wide because then it allows me to fit 5 rows of comics across. And then I've got a few different sizes from 3-drawer over here, which is just kind of out of camera shot, 4-drawer. And the one I got today is a beast. It's a 5-drawer cabinet. So I can actually fit the top drawer is kind of one of those, it's got a door that lifts up and then slides back. So it's more of a pull out shelf, but I did test it. I can put comic books in there if I want to. Right now, I've just put my Overstreet comic book price guides on there, and Yeah, we'll see as my comic collection expands. That's part of that breathing room I talked about. Plenty of room to expand there and add more comics. But now I've got all the file cabinets in place. I've got a couple magnets I need to order so I can customize these final two that I got in recent months. And that's another fun process in itself. But maybe I'll do some videos on those down the road just to show you those as I progress those. I've done one on my very first cabinet, which is kind of behind the camera there. And I did a little short on this little 3-drawer one that I got recently. But yeah, I got 2 more to go. So those are the changes to the comic book room. Again, maybe you're interested in that. If not, it's kind of a timestamp for me to remember when some of these changes took place. But now, without further ado, let's get to this last and biggest haul of 2025. All right, we're going to start off with the very few DC books that I got. I will admit up front that the vast majority of what I bought was Marvel, and there's a couple Image things I think in here, and literally like 3 DC books, but that's just because I eventually ran out of time, and the kind of runs that I'm working on for DC, he just didn't have as many of those issues or titles or eras that I was working on, so it was predominantly a Marvel centric haul. We're going to kind of go alphabetically through most of them, but it'll be a little bit of a remembering experience for me, even as I show you these, because there's so many books. I didn't go through and look up the significance of all the issues before starting filming. We're just going to go for it live. So if you see something significant about a particular issue, feel free to add that to the comments below. I'll learn from that. Fellow viewers will learn from that. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive in, starting here with the DC books. These are all Batman related, and in fact, they're all Detective Comics. Here we have issue number 602 from 1989. Yeah, nice, is that Norm Brayfogle cover there? Yeah, July of 89. Very cool. I love his art style on Batman, and so I am trying to build out more of a collection of his artwork. This is Detective 629. This is a nice pink cover. I'm not sure if that's Jim Aparo doing the cover on that, but Aparo does the art on the interiors there. And then lastly, we've got this cool cover on issue 630. I love the colors. I love just the motion of Batman. I don't know if he's diving or falling, probably diving, but going down the stairwell there. That's a very cool cover also. So fun to just make that teeny bit of progress on Detective Comics from the late 80s. I got to keep shuffling my coffee around here. All right, now let's get into the Marvel stuff, and we're going to start with some Avengers books. This book was just an impulse grab because it was so cheap, and I'd never seen it before, and I'm a sucker for a gimmick cover. This is Avengers Time Slide. I imagine it might just be a one-shot, but it's got a kind of a, I don't know if that's chromium or reflective metallic kind of cover on there. It might be a wraparound cover. Let's take a peek, see. Oh, it is. Very nice. So this is going to be towards the latter part of their volumes 1. Yeah, this is February 96, so it must be right around the Onslaught time, I would imagine. I just don't know exactly what's going on in anybody's continuities at this time. Okay, this looks like it's before the Heroes Reborn and just before Onslaught, because this time slide concludes in Iron Man 325 and Avengers 395, which were definitely towards the end of those volume 1 runs for each of those titles. But here's the wraparound cover. Very cool there. So just a fun little event, one shot. Not really a one shot, but a kickoff to a storyline. It was fun to get. Again, $50 to fill a long box, and so when you squeeze them all in there, you work it out to like less than 20 cents a comic. Here is a Wizard number 0 issue that I picked up. I just like to grab these Wizard issues when I can find them. So there's the one from Avengers. And this would be the Heroes Return era of things. So after Heroes Reborn, the Heroes returned, of course. And so this is Avengers Zero. What year is this? Must be like, what, 97 or something like that? But, 99. So it would have been during the Kurt Busiek and George Perez creative run on Avengers. Looks like it's got some, I don't know if those are those, let's see, sorry. What now? All this continues in Ultron Unlimited. It looks kind of vintagey. I don't know if that's a reprint from something early or if that's just made to look that way, but I'll have to give that a read. Avengers Zero, part of the Heroes Return era of things. And then the next run of books was one of my main goals in even going to this particular sale. I have heard really good things from a lot of fans about the Busiek Perez Avengers run, which started in Avengers Volume 3, that would have been Heroes Return in the late 90s. And I've only ever read like the first 1 or 2 issues, and I didn't really feel like that was enough for me to get a good flavor of it. Sorry, I'm spinning my spinner rack because I thought the Avengers run, the issue number 1 that I have, was somewhere on here. I think it is. It's just hidden by the holiday issues. But I figured, I've heard so many good things about this. That volume or that run does exist in omnibus format, but I didn't want to take the plunge and buy omnibus editions when I really haven't read the run at all. And since there's no major keys in there, I figured I could probably find most of those issues relatively inexpensively. And so I figured, you know what, why don't I try to put that together in single issue format, and then I can read it. And if it turns out I don't really like it, well, I paid really little money for this run. So not much risked and not much lost if I don't like it. And if I do, great, all the better. But like I said, I only read like the first 2 issues. The Busiek Perez run combined, I think Perez was on until issue 30 something, and then Busiek was there writing until, I want to say, about issue 56 or somewhere right in that vicinity. So that was the chunk that I was looking for. And going into the sale, I said, you know what? Let's see how many of these issues I can find. And I found a good chunk. I didn't find all of them, but I found many of them, all in one fell swoop and for less than 20 cents a piece. So we're just going to run through these here, starting with issue 2. Now, I said I'd read issue 1 and 2. This is the standard cover, I think, or maybe this is a variant and I have the standard cover. This is one of the covers to issue 2. I had a different one. So that was a fun little bonus find there. But there's issue 2, 3, 5, 6, 9. And you'll notice, sorry for the pause, some of these comics are bagged and boarded. Some of them are just bagged. Some of them are raw, like this one here. That's how they were in the boxes. And the boxes were not alphabetized at all. They may have started out alphabetized, but then they get shuffled over time. And so it becomes just a mess by the end and things get consolidated. So you really got to take your time and look through. And you might find part of a run in one box and then more of that run again in another box, and duplicates a lot of things. So it was some crazy times. So, but there's issue, what did I say? 9, 12. I won't even say all the numbers here, but I will tell you that the risk of buying duplicates is very real. But as you're going through so many boxes, you don't want to risk leaving something behind if you didn't pick it up. And you don't want to also go back through a chunk of a long box for every issue that you find to see, did I find this already? And so I was just grabbing things as I thought I might need it. And then once I filled up my long box, I actually took it over to the side and camped out for probably 20 minutes or so, where I systematically pulled books out of the long box, organized them by titles, separated the duplicates, and then kept the better condition copy where there was one. And then I put all the duplicates back in the boxes so other people could, dive in and get those. And really just wanted to ensure that I didn't buy duplicates, not because it was going to be a waste of money, more so because if I don't have duplicates, then I've got room in the box for things that I still need. So I want to get rid of those duplicates. And I found a surprising number of duplicates just because you hit the same runs over and over again in these boxes. But here we're up to issue 25. So a lot of good progress on the Busick-Perez run. This is a cool issue. Issue number 27 is a 100-page monster. I like the cover on that one. And yeah, like I said, I think Perez was on till issue 30-something. Busick was on till issue 50-something. And I got a ways to go still, but this was a really good jump start. And I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, honestly, but I've heard such good things about it from fans that I wanted to give it a try. All right, it's a John Romita Jr. cover. And here's issue 36. So maybe this is around when, yeah, maybe Perez left at like 35 or something like that. Because issue 36, you've got Steve Epting doing the pencils now. And it looks like he continues to be the penciler. Until, of course, issue 38, which maybe it changed. Maybe they were rotating, or maybe it's just a guest penciler. But you got Alan Davis on 38, both on cover and interiors. And then we jump to 41. Yeah, it looks like Davis is doing the pencils now. So maybe they were going through a bit of a rotation on the artists at this point. 42. I think this whole volume went for 80 some odd issues before, was it the Brian Michael Bendis era started? 44. It's a pretty cool cover. Looks like one of the Kuberts. I wonder who did this cover. Oh, Andy Kubert. Look at that. Woo, go me. I don't often get the artist correct, but sometimes I do. I get lucky. 46. Yeah, so wanting to go in there and find as many of these as possible, I definitely consider this to be a great success for that initial run there. So there's issue 50, nice milestone. And then issue 55. So the second to last issue, if I'm remembering that correctly. So that's a kind of a cool cover there too. But yeah, great progress on the Busick Avengers run. So that's what it looks like in total, what I was able to find in one, all at this one sale. But then I guess still connected though to that, I did find one of the annuals from that volume. Was it from 2000? And then also Avengers, but I'm not sure. It's one of like the Young Guns variants. RB Silva did the cover there. And it's a great cover with She-Hulk. I don't know what issue this is though. So let's take a peek, see, shall we? Oh. So it is Avengers. It's from the Jason Aaron run on Avengers. And this is from one of his events called Heroes Reborn. Same name, different event altogether. They just picked up the name and recycled it. But this is Heroes Reborn issue number 6. I didn't read this at all. And I think now if I could find these in the dollar bins, I will pick those up and give that a read. Just because I like Jason Aaron as a writer, really fell in love with his writing when he did the whole big Thor run. And then he moved over to Avengers and had like a 66 issue volume there, plus Avengers Forever, plus events like Heroes Reborn. He had the what was the big event with Thor and others there, War of the Realms. So I'm gonna eventually piece together all of the Jason Aaron stuff on the Avengers, and maybe I'll do that in omnibus format if they ever come out with that. In the meantime, I've got most of it in single issues. I just need a few more things to fill it in, and then I can give it one big long reading. I did recently get this because it was on a really good sale. This is Avengers Forever. It's small, like thin, but it's an omnibus. This was kind of the final event that he did on his time writing Avengers. And it was when it was going back and forth between the main Avengers title and the Avengers Forever kind of 15-issue spin-off series that came out. And I wanted to get that because I'd never read that part of his run. And I like those kind of multiversal and, type of crossover events. but maybe they'll do the rest of the volumes, the rest of his run in omnibus format someday. Until then, I'll try to find these in the dollar bins, and hopefully now I can find the other, I think it's like 5 more issues to go to complete that volume. All right, let's go back to the Bronze Age for just a tiny bit here. I have recently decided that I will pick up the John Buscema art run of Conan the Barbarian when I can find his issues in decent condition and for cheap. And I would have bought so many more if he had them, but he didn't have many, but I did get the 4 he did have, and they are issue number 71, 112, 137, and 146. The John Buscema run ran basically from issue 25 to 190, 192, somewhere right in that range. So it's a lot of issues. It was a long run. We'll see how far I get on completing that. But this year I've made some decent progress, probably 12 to 24 issues in total now I have on that. All right. So now let's go back to the 90s, and this time for one Image book. I don't know if there are any other Image books. This might be one and done for Image, but this is the Cyberforce Annual number 2. Cyberforce is one of the titles that I started collecting back when Image first launched. I got the first few issues of Cyberforce, first few issues of Wildcats, first few issues of Spawn, Wetworks, the one by Whilce Portacio. There may have been some others, but I dabbled in a few of the Image titles when they came out. In the last several years, I've decided, hey, why don't I try to build out some of those runs that artistically at least were my favorite. I don't remember any of the stories at this point, whether they were good or bad, if I liked them or not, but I do still like the art. It's very nostalgic. And Cyberforce is one of the volumes that I've wanted to complete in its entirety. It ran for either 32 or 37 issues, somewhere in that range, and had 2 annuals. This was the one annual that I'd been missing. So now I have that. And at least as of getting this haul, I only need 1 issue to complete the entire first ongoing of Cyberforce. I say first ongoing because they had a 4-issue limited series. That would be technically volume 1. And then volume 2 was their first ongoing. And I just 1 issue away from that. 1 issue just is hiding from me. I'm convinced I can't find it. But having that other annual is a nice little bit of progress. Now let's come back to Marvel. After that very brief dip out of the Marvel world, I found 1 issue from the Marvel G.I. Joe series, relatively low number 2. There's issue number 25. I've said before that I'm not really aggressively going after G.I. Joe, but it is Transformers adjacent, so I will pick these up when I find them for cheap and in good condition. And then here's my first Guardians of the Galaxy volume, which was, I think this might be their volume 1, right? Because their debut was not in Guardians of the Galaxy. It was in a different title, I think. So this might be their volume 1. It's a completely different team. It's not Star-Lord and Groot and all those kind of cast of characters, and definitely not the movie cast. This is Guardians of the Galaxy, where they're from the 31st century. Another title that I started collecting when it first came out, got a handful or so issues and then stopped. Now I think I'd like to go back and eventually piece together this whole volume just for nostalgia's sake. Again, I don't remember if I like it or not, if the stories are good, but the art reminds me of collecting back in the early 90s. So I like to piece that together. This is kind of a cool issue because it's a milestone, issue number 50, and it's got a nice reflective cover on there. So that was the 1 issue from that volume that I found. Definitely would have bought more had I found them. Here we go to Iron Man. Here's issue number 310. Not an issue I was particularly looking for, but you might be able to tell from this little sign here, this is polybagged, and this is one of the ones, I want to say it came out and was promoting some of the shows that were going on at the time. So yeah, as you can see, don't bag this bag. So it's polybagged, and I think there is an animation cell in here. I'm not going to open this though to find out which one that is, because I do have a few that have been removed from their polybags issues that I bought back when they first came out. So I'll keep this one polybagged for now, but still kind of a fun little callback to that era of kind of tie-ins where they were trying to, you know, promote the TV shows and things. Marvel Age is a series I'm trying to get in its entirety. So I found at least a few issues from that volume. Here's issue number 18. Just filling in whatever holes I can at this point. 24. Little Gru the Warrior there on the cover. And then this one jumps way ahead to issue number... Issue what? I can't even tell. February 1994. What number is this? I don't know. Is it got... Oh, maybe it was in backwards. This is issue number 133. So here's the cover I was looking at with War Machine. But then there's a flip cover. So there you go. X-Wedding. X-Wedding, is that the... Would that be Gina Scott's wedding? So that issue there. And then, oh, this is the second to last issue in Marvel Age. It went for 140 issues altogether. This was a cool cover, or still is a cool cover. Batman and Punisher on issue 139. Then I got an issue from a reprint series that I'm working on. This is The Mighty Thor starring in Marvel Spectacular, issue number 13. This goes back to those Silver Age stories, reprinting. And I've said it before, I love these early reprint series. Early meaning, you know, like the 70s that they came out. And just a fun way to be able to pick up some of those really early Silver Age stories. This one reprints the story from Thor 142. Then we've got Marvel Superheroes Winter Special from 1990. Only one of these issues is considered a key. I want to say it's the first appearance of Squirrel Girl in one of these, but all the others just kind of nostalgic for me from the late 80s, early 90s. So I just picked those up when they're cheap. Then we got Marvel 2-in-1, another volume that relatively recently I decided to try to complete. There's 100 issues in total, and he had a few at least at this sale. Here's issue number 20. And 25. 27. And then 28. This one's in Mylar already. Not sure why. Usually I don't rebag these things. I wonder if there's something. I don't know. Maybe I was doing something. Like I said, I've been sitting on these for a couple months. Here's issue number 32. 34. You know, I may have been going through comparing with duplicates, because one of the things I'll do with older comics like this, I know that I don't always get the best condition copy. Sometimes I get it just because it's a copy to start with, and then I hold out to see if maybe I can find a better condition copy. So some of these may have been actually duplicates that I bought knowing I had them already, but I wanted to compare with my existing copies, and then I'll, you know, keep the one that's better condition. So that may have been why that one was there. There's issue 43. So made some good progress on Marvel 2-in-1. Here's issue 48. If you hear dog sounds, but not loud ones, Finley, my daughter's dog, we're watching him again. She's traveling. And he is playing with something on the couch back there. But at least he's not barking right now at anything. And there's issue 95. So good little run on Marvel 2-in-1 from Go Big or Go Home Comics. Now, I did find a couple issues next here from a magazine that I've decided I want to get, because I started by finding 1 or 2 issues, and then I found a bunch more, and now I'm just going to go until I can hopefully find them all. I want to say this ran for like 27 or 28 issues altogether. It's called Marvel Vision, the Marvel fan magazine, and he had 2 issues at the sale. Here's issue 15 with Excalibur on there, and then issue 24. So kind of like Marvel Age, kind of like a Wizard magazine, but I either wasn't collecting comics by the time this came out, or I never paid attention to it, but I had never heard of this until the last year or two, and now it's just a fun thing to be picking up. Now, the next stack is a really fun find because I don't have necessarily a concrete goal to get all of these, but as I find them, I continue to pick them up, and I'm just starting to accumulate a decent number of these. These are the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Master Edition. What makes these a little bit different from the other handbooks is that they're not bound with a staple or with staples and flipped through like a comic book. These are actually 3-hole punched, and they consist of individual pages, and they were all then shrink wrapped together to keep them intact for sale. And so far, the only ones I've ever found are ones that are still shrink wrapped, probably because there's no way to know if you have all the pages, if they get loose and they, probably get lost and things. But I'll continue to pick these up as I can find them. I want to say this ran for like 30 some odd issues. They did, I think, do an omnibus of these as well. But here's issue 14 with Thor on the cover. And then you can see on the back, there's Annihilus. And you can see the 3-hole punching, because the idea was that you could put these in a binder, and then it gives you a front, side, and back view of the character. So it gives artists a little reference for being able to draw them, but just a fun thing to be on the lookout for. Here's issue 17. Glasses 18. I used to have progressive lenses that had like the different vision distances at different heights. I thought I didn't like them. So with these glasses, I went back to a single vision. There's 19. And now I take my glasses off more than ever because I only need the correction for distance. I don't need the correction close up. And so these overcorrect, and then it gets blurry up close. I know, middle-aged man problems. 32. 34. So those of you with good eyesight appreciate it. 35. And 36. Oh, 36 is the last issue because it says it right there. Final issue. Very fun. So nice progress on those. And then I did find one other handbook issue. This is the official handbook of the Marvel Universe A to Z update, issue 2 of 5. I want to say this was like 2005, 2006, that kind of time frame. I don't have any of those. Oh, no, this is 2010. Oh, my goodness. How many rounds of this have they done? I don't know, but you can bet I will continue to collect them as I find them. Because I just bought some issues at a different sale. You'll see those in a future haul. But I don't think they were from 2010. I thought they were from like 2004 to 2006, somewhere in that range. And those two were called like the A to Z update and things like that. I don't know. We'll have to see what those are and where those are in my CLZ. But this one being from 2010 explains why I didn't see it in CLZ when I was adding those other issues just recently. All right. Chugging along here, our way through the alphabet. I got a few actually, Spider-Man related issues. And this first one is Spectacular Spider-Man number 198. I got that for the X-Men appearance. You may recall that in a relatively recent haul video, I showed you, I want to say issue 197 that I picked up for the X-Men appearance. And afterwards learned that it was part 1 of a 2-part story. So had to look for issue 198, and there it was at the sale. And don't worry, these stickers are on the bag, not on the comic book. Then I also got issue number 22 from the first adjectiveless Spider-Man title. This was the Todd McFarlane title, and this was, I really, really think this is the last Eric Larson issue that I needed. I feel like I've said that the last like 2 times I picked up an Eric Larson issue, that it was the last one I needed, but I really think this is the last one I need now. So for now, at least I'm done collecting issues from this volume of Spider-Man. And then one other issue from a different volume altogether. This was kind of an impulse buy. Just loved the cover art. But now, of course, I want to get the whole series. This is Marvel Knights Spider-Man, issue number 2. That's a Terry Dodson cover, and I just thought it was super cool looking. So now I want to hunt down the rest of these and complete that series. So Finley found a squeaky ball to play with. Hopefully he won't squeak that too frequently. All right, now we're going to go over to Thor. This is issue number 383. And the reason I got this was because this actually ties into the Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars. And I want to say that I learned about this issue when I was reading the Walter Simonson Thor omnibus, because this is not one of the issues in there, or it's not included in that omnibus. Is that right? Let's double check this. Yeah, this goes up to 382, and this is 383. This ties in though with that Secret Wars, the first Secret Wars event, and I wanted to get that tie-in because I had read the main Secret Wars event, but not all of these tie-in issues. So that's why I grabbed that one. Then we go to volume 2 of Thor, which really was the Hero's Return era, and it's one that I'm continuing to try to complete as much in order as possible. But here's issue number 30 with a cool Beta Ray Bill cover, and then 36. And that's it from that volume. That volume went like 80 some issues in total, I think. Here was another impulse buy just because I wasn't looking for it, and it was just an awesome looking cover. It's another Image title, Wildcats. This is also another Wizard comic, and I got this one because it's a cool gimmick cover. I'll pull it out here to show you. This is, what is this? Oh, this is from Wizard 69. It says Wizard number 69 Ace Edition number 15. So this is Wizard Ace Edition number 15. So it sounds like there's a lot more I could collect. And it is reprinting Wildcats number 1. And I loved Wildcats because of the Jim Lee art. And this one I got for those reasons I just said. But look at that cover. It's got like this, what's it called? Like an acetate overlay there. Very, very fun. Like I said, a gimmick for these. I'm a sucker, I should say, for these gimmick covers. So that was a no-brainer. Had to grab that one. Nice, fun little offbeat kind of find. All right. Now let's get into a bunch of Fantastic Four. I would say outside of that Avengers that you've seen so far, this is probably one of the largest chunks of books that you're going to see, aside from X-Men, but there's so many different titles with the X-Men. So with Fantastic Four, there are different titles you're going to see. First is one of these limited series that they did called Marvel Remix. And I got 1 or 2 issues, maybe it was Silver Surfer or something like that, that I found just kind of randomly. And now I randomly came across the Marvel Remix version for Fantastic Four. Looks like they had a 3-part story. They had part 1 and part 2, but sadly no part 3. And I've never seen these before, so who knows how long it could be before I find part 3 of that remix. And then here's some issues from one of those cartoon series I was talking about before, where we had the polybagged issue of Iron Man. Here's the actual comic based on the cartoon, Marvel Action Hour Fantastic Four, issue number 1. I got 2 of these because there's the newsstand copy that's just loose. But then they had the polybagged version of issue number 1 as well. And you can see, similar to that Iron Man, it's got that little insert in the back. And this might have, that acetate, the animation cell in there also. So that was fun. But more than that, they also had issue 3, issue 5, and that's it for Marvel Action Hour. I think this went like 7 or 8 issues altogether. And then from volume 1 of Fantastic Four, which I am trying to complete as much as possible, the easy issues, of course, are the higher numbered issues because there's not keys there. So I got a few issues towards the end of volume 1. This is from the very confusing time when the issue number was down in the barcode. So there's issue number 401, 402, and 405. This volume, I think, ended at like issue 415, somewhere in there. All right, so there's those. We are making progress here, but we got a ways to go still. Okay. Continuing on. Oh, still a couple more from volume 1 of Fantastic Four. Here's issue number, oops, sorry about the bump there, 410 and 411. So right towards the end of volume 1. And then they got a couple annuals. Love the annuals from the late 80s, early 90s as well. There's annual number 25 from 1992. And on the back, 26 from 1993. Now let's jump ahead to volume 3 of Fantastic Four. It's the second longest volume of Fantastic Four. And there was legacy renumberings and kinds of craziness in there too. But I found a lot of issues from this one, actually. Starting here with issue 43, 51. Are these might be connecting. 52, 53, and then that's a cool cover, 55, 56, 57, 58, and then 73 or legacy number 502. We're into the Mark Waid run on Fantastic Four. Finley, dude, why are you squeaking that? 78, 507. And now we're just purely legacy numbering, 509. And we're into the Wade Waringo, 513. 514. I guess it's better than barking like that last time, right? 515. 516. 517. So many issues. 519. 524. There's significance to this cover. Was it something connected with the Fantastic Four First Steps movie that homaged this somehow? I don't know. I know I've seen this cover of late. 525. 526. 27. 28. Really nice progress. 529. 530. Looks like some cosmic rays hitting the Fantastic Four. And 531. So really nice progress on Fantastic Four Volume 3. Now we're going to get into kind of the home stretch here, but there's still a lot of books to see. All the remaining books that you're going to see today are mutant related from all different kinds of eras and titles and runs and all those kind of things, but all X-Men related books. Starting off here with a kind of a promotional one shot. This is Uncanny X-Men 500 issues celebration, Marvel Spotlight, celebrating 500 issues of Uncanny Excellence. And so you got that. You've got advertisement for issue 500 and 501 on the back. And then inside you've got some historical stuff. There's your Uncanny team, or the, all new, all different. Some flashback things. You got old Kitty Pride images there. You got some Onslaught. So look, a little promo piece featuring our Merry Mutants. Then we go over here to X-Men Classic, one of the reprint titles that I like to collect. I started out because I wanted the early stuff from the Claremont and the Byrne era, Dark Phoenix Saga, things like that. And then now there's other covers I want to get by different artists like Adam Hughes and Mike Mignola and others who did covers later on in that volume. And then ultimately, heck, I'll put the whole thing together if I can find them all. There were 110 issues altogether. Found several at the sale, including 52. That's a cool Kitty Pride cover. Is that Andy Kubert again? Yep, 53. It's a nice cover. Mike Mignola on 58, as well as 59. Got John Romita Jr. on issue 80. Joe Madureira on issue 81. And then Madureira and Panosian. Dan Panosian, I've seen him doing the main covers. I guess he was the inker on this one. And then here's 87. I can't see who the artist is on that one. 88. Nice progress on this title, too. 89. 90. I wouldn't go hardcore after these issues, but when they're less than 20 cents a piece, it's pretty easy to give into that temptation to want to complete the run. 105. And that's it for X-Men Classic. So nice progress in X-Men Classic. Cable, one of my favorite X-Men. I'm trying to complete his first volume. They didn't have nearly as many issues as I would have hoped, because this is a run from the 90s that usually I see all the time in the dollar bins. But I did get what they had that I needed, starting here with issue 63, 65, 80. And that's why it jumps all over the place, because I'm just picking up, filling in, any holes that I have. Not worrying about going in order or anything like that. 82. 93. And 94. All right. 2 more stacks to go. Let's go over to Mutant X. It's a 30-some issue run that I'm trying to complete, focused on Alex Summers, where he gets supposedly killed, but really he gets pulled into an alternate dimension where he becomes the leader of the X-Men in that reality. And so I just want to piece that together. Here's issue 8. Issue 10. 13. 14. It's got some inserts here. Spider-Man Unlimited, little inserts there. It's got these gatefold front and back covers. I didn't know if there was artwork on them. There's not. There's just ads there. What issue? 15. There we go. 16. 17. 21. 23. This was nice progress on this too. I forgot I found all these issues. 28. That's a cool cover. 32. Is that the last issue? Because it looks like he's kind of going through some warpy, maybe alternate reality thing here. Let's see what the end says. Give it up, Alex. Ooh, somebody's getting stabbed. Yeah, this is the last issue. This has got a the end at the end. Thanks for the ride. So, is it Howard Mackey? That is his name? Wrote this. So issue 32. So got the ending, the final issue, plus an annual, also from 2000, like that one we saw earlier. Very cool cover. I love the way Storm looks there. Storm and Gambit on the cover. Then let's go to X-Force, another volume. Well, I think I'd eventually like to build out all of their volumes, but really would like to get volume 1. Here is issue 57. 69. This is one I was hoping. I mean, they had several issues, but I think I was hoping for even more. Like, you just want to crush a lot of these runs at these kind of sales. And that's the wraparound cover. issue 81, and 83. Love that Jim Chung did a run of art on this title. Love his art style, so I'm trying to build out some of his earlier stuff. Here's 93. 101. 103. 104. 110. And that's it for X-Force. But good little progress there. All right, now we'll call this is our last stack. So we've got a couple of the -1 issues that Marvel did in 1997. It was like around June. And several of their titles got these flashback issues where it might have even been narrated by Stan Lee. And they tell some tale from, the earlier days of the titular characters. And I'm still working on getting several of those. But I can't believe I didn't have this before now, but now I'm glad I finally do. This is the X-Men related -1 issue. And then I also got another one. I really am surprised I had never found before this, but glad I did now. There's the Excalibur -1 issue. Speaking of Excalibur, here is from one of their volumes, not the first one, because I've completed that. But now I love the Team Excalibur, so I'll just try to get their other volumes. No big keys, so it's just a matter of tracking them down. There's issue 1 from, this might be volume 2, because that might have been like a 4-issue volume, just a little limited series. Issue 2. And then I think we go to volume 3 now. Still a relatively short volume, but longer than 4 issues. There's issue 3 from that. And then they had a title where they were called like New Excalibur. I don't have it all straight in my head, but that's why we have apps like CLZ. And issue 10. So random issues there, but again, less than 20 cents a comic. I'm just going to pick up whatever they have that I need. Now, this one was a fun pickup, impulse buy in a sense, because I had never heard of it before, but I'll pick up just about anything X-Men related, especially if I don't have it. This is X-Men Phoenix Force Handbook. So little one-shot reference, kind of a book there. I haven't even really looked at this yet. But yeah, you've got kind of like your official handbooks of things. This is one that does the Phoenix Force Handbook. I don't know if that's connected to a story event or what, honestly, but I didn't ask those kind of questions. I just saw this X-Men related. I don't own it. It's really cheap. I'm getting it. And then here is, did they have all of these? Marvel did a variety of limited series called The End, where it was like, I guess, supposed to be the final story for the character or the heroes. And the X-Men were one of those teams that got a The End limited series. In fact, it looks like they got at least 2 limited series titled The End, because I found X-Men The End Book 2, Heroes and Martyrs, issue 1, 2, 3. Is that a Greg Land cover? 4, 5, and 6. And it looks like this was written by Chris Claremont. I don't know if he wrote the first volume of this, but I think that's the full volume of The End, Book 2, X-Men Heroes and Martyrs. So that was a fun find. But again, when those titles get recycled or added onto, it gets real easy to mix things up. But there's one of those volumes. I don't think I have all of them from the first one. I might only have like 1 issue. Now let's go to another limited series. They had 2 of the 3 issues. This is X-Men True Friends, issue number 1. This has got to be 90s, both based on the art style, but then also just knowing that Marvel was cranking out X-Men related things in the mid to late 90s. And I just grab them now because I can find them cheap usually, not because they're going to be the most amazing story. It's like the X-Men collector in me that wants to get those. And then I found one issue from, I want to say it's her first volume. This is Mystique. And she had a volume that ran like 24 or so issues. And they all have covers kind of like this one. This is issue 12. It's Mike Mayhew. Is that his first name? Mike? But Mayhew is the artist on the covers. And so it's this kind of photorealistic painted cover. So I don't know if they had a person model this and then they just did a painted version of that, but this is the style of all the issues in this volume. I don't know anything about it, but I like Mystique as a mutant, and so when I can find these, I will pick them up. I did pick up several of these at a recent sale that I'll show you in a future haul. Then I got one What If issue. I've said before that I like to pick up the What If issues that are X-Men related. This is What If starring Cannonball's little brother, Josh. This is issue number 92. And then from one of her volumes, I don't know which one, this is Domino issue 4 of 4, another mutant. I will pick up her titles when I can find those. And then we've got X-Men and the Clandestine. This is issue number 2. I'm assuming of 2. There you go there. Who was it that created the Clandestine? Was it John Byrne or was it Alan Davis? One of those guys. I think I have Clandestine issue number 1 that I picked up somewhere along the way. And this is a wraparound cover. I did pull this out before because I noticed, I don't know why, but there are 2 Wolverines. You got Wolverine in his yellow and blue on the front, but then you go around to the back and there he is again at the bottom in his brown and yellow. So I don't know if that's I can't imagine that was an oops. It must have been on purpose. Maybe they just wanted to have him on the front and the back and so said, hey, what the heck, let's just put him in 2. Or I don't know, maybe he appears in this in both costumes, or somehow there's 2 different Wolverines. There he is in the blue and yellow there, at least. But once I can find issue number 1, then I can read it and find out. But maybe somehow there's 2 Wolverines in here. I don't know. But glad to have found that one. And then New X-Men. I really don't know a lot about this, but I really like the art style, especially the early issues. And I have some of the later issues because they were tie-ins to different X-Men related events. Now I just want to build out the whole volume. This is New X-Men number 28, creative team of Kyle and Yost at this point. Was Kyle writing the whole time? I don't think Yost was the penciler the whole time. And then here's issue 34. And that's it from that volume. Coming back kind of to some X-Force. Here's Cable and X-Force, issue number 8 and 16. And then the home stretch here. Let's do this one first because these are kind of out of order. Here's Generation Hope, number 7. I've got most of these issues now. I think I just need a couple more to complete this short volume, but I want to read more about Hope's earlier stories. I really didn't start, paying attention to who Hope was or reading about her at all until the Avengers versus X-Men, which when she was supposed to be the designated new host of the Phoenix Force, and then the Avengers wanted her and the X-Men wanted to protect her, and it was a whole big thing, like there usually is with the Avengers and the X-Men. But now I want to get some of her earlier issues and read more about her. And I know she's got history with Cable and things, so that's going to be kind of fun to track down and eventually read. And then last but not least, the final 2 issues to show you, X-Men Unlimited, a 50-issue kind of anthology series where you got a different creative team and different story each issue, but they were in continuity and sometimes, fleshed out things that were going on in one of the main X-Men titles or added to those stories. So definitely a volume I'd like to complete, but I don't want to go crazy trying to track those down. I'll just pick them up as I can find them. And they had 2 issues to help me towards that goal. Here is issue number 6. That gives me kind of Marvel fanfare vibes with Sauron on the cover there, because that's what Sauron and Spidey on Marvel fanfare number 1, but another anthology title. But there's X-Men Unlimited number 6, and then The very last issue to show you here is X-Men Unlimited number 16. So that's the final issue I have to show you. That was a lot. That was quite a haul, but it was an amazing sale. It was an amazing haul of books to get. Again, $50 to fill a long box. And so when you do the math, it works out to less than 20 cents a comic. I want to say once again, a big thanks to Brad and Go Big or Go Home Comics. Thank you so much for always having amazing deals, always having great comic books, and I look forward to a whole new round of shows and sales and opportunities to support your business and to build out my collection. And to all of you, I want to say a very happy new year, and I want to say especially a big thank you. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching any of my videos. You know, there's a part of me that wanted to initially put up videos just to have a record, kind of a video log of my collection and my hauls and the things that I find. But it's been super great to get to know so many of you over the last 5+ almost 6 years now. And so I've had a great time interacting with you in the comments and getting to know you over email and things like that, and seeing so many of you out and about here in the Twin Cities at the different sales and shows and conventions that we all go out and attend. So I will say a few things. If you saw something that you liked, and I definitely hope you did, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, then hit that subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Then you'll know when I upload my next video. And please leave a comment down below. Let me know the kinds of things that you're finding on your own comic adventures. And if you ever do see me out and about, please say hello. I would love to get to know you and get to know more of the comic community right here in the Twin Cities Metro. Learn about the kind of things that you're hunting for. You obviously are learning the kinds of things that I'm hunting for, but that way it could be more of a dialogue and less of a monologue. But thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.